This is Histories and Mysteries. I'm Ashley.
I'm Jessica.
And I'm Rochelle.
On this week's episode, I'm going to be talking about Roe versus Wade, and Ashley is going to be talking about Gerri Santoro.
Yeah, so Gerri Santoro was kind of a like a figure for the pro-choice movement. And then at the end, I talk a bit about kind of what's going on in America right now with the Supreme Court and Roe versus Wade most likely being overturned. So this is a bit more of a political episode than we generally do. So if you lean a bit more towards pro-life, I don't think anything in this would offend you because I just talk about the facts, but we probably will have some comments about it. And so if you don't want to listen to this episode, feel free to skip to the next one. But if not, you will probably learn a whole lot. So
yeah, super fun.
Yeah.
So
it feels like we're watching the Hunger Games happen.
Right? Yeah, it's ridiculous. And I go into some of the consequences that could happen based on the overturning of Roe v. Wade.
Okay. I think I skipped that part. So
okay.
I might have talked about it. I don't know. If I do, you can just skip it.
Okay. Perfect.
I'm all riled up about our provincial election right now, and it's nothing compared to this shit going on in the States.
Yeah, it's pretty awful right now, but we'll hopefully we'll get through it. If not, just need some men to bring us up to Canada, like in The Handmaid's Tale.
Well, I just saw on TikTok, this girl posted that she's a couple hours north of Toronto, and that people are allowed to go to her to recover people who are from the States.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So.
Thank you to our friends in Canada.
Yeah. So super Canadians. So to get into it, I am going to be talking about the history. It's not super duper long, but it's important. It's kind of morbid in some cases. I'm also going old school, or Rochelle. I wrote things down.
I just saw, there's this new tablet that's come out, and it's I can't remember what it's called, but it's essentially like a paper tablet. So writing on the surface of it is on paper.
Oh, that's
cool.
It
just automatically
puts it into text.
Yeah, no, not even.
Oh,
it just makes it like a PDF, and then I don't know.
Cody has something like that.
$600, but I'm I want it so bad, and I'm seeing ads for it everywhere.
He takes so many notes at work, so he got one. So he writes on the tablet, like you said, and then he can convert it to a Microsoft Word document or PDF.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he really likes it.
Good. I'm not gonna be able to do anything until I figure out what this thing is called.
His was called I don't even remember.
You both suck.
Can't find it.
Alrighty, so are we ready for the history of Roe versus Wade, the abortion laws, such and such?
Yes.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Also, I want to say, as both of you are mothers, thank you for being pro-choice, despite the fact that obviously you have gone through
children.
pregnancy.
Yeah.
Have had to done that. So I feel a lot of people, because of that, sway the other way. And I have strong opinions about people that are not pro-choice.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's so important, because Jessica and I made a choice to have our children. It's not for me to make a choice for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And I mean, I'm going to talk about, there are extenuating circumstances where it's important that women have that choice
Yeah.
as opposed to someone else making that choice for them, because it's their body, it's their life.
Yeah.
And if you're going to put these rules into place, there needs to be something in place to support those mothers that you're
There
forcing
are
to have
so
children.
many situations in which, like, if they didn't have access to like safe care, that the person carrying the fetus would die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And that's what happens to the lady I'm going to talk about.
Like, why are we not pro-life of that person
Right.
who's already living?
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree. 100%.
Okay. So, as we've kind of discussed already, recently the laws have been passed declaring that abortion is no longer allowed. There are 9 states that have banned this practice in early pregnancy. And in 2019, it was made a criminality. Jessica. It was made criminal to undergo an abortion from the moment an egg had been fertilized. So super duper early. Are you going to say something? Like, what's with your face?
You said it was in 2019?
Yeah, it said in 2019 it was made criminal to undergo an abortion.
Do you know what state?
No, it says there's 9 states that have banned this practice in early pregnancy. I got my stuff from History Extra. It's gonna be accurate.
Does keep going. I'll put a show note in or something. Let me figure out what states. There's too many. Stop having 52 states, 51 states. How many states are there? I don't know.
52. Oh,
There's 50.
no, they're not.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's just that I could be wrong. I could be misunderstanding, but Roe versus Wade protected abortion rights. So I don't know how there could have been a ban before.
It
Roe
just says
versus Wade was
early pregnancy. There was a ban on this practice in early pregnancy.
okay.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Continue.
On the opposite end, laws have been passed in New York, Vermont, Illinois, and Maine that allows this procedure to be done by any medical personnel. Whatever the case, these laws are all focused on a decision made in 1973, Roe versus Wade. During the 1960s, action was being taken to try and have abortion laws loosened. So, in 1959, a proposal was made that allowed abortion to be legal under particular instances, such as fetal abnormality, rape or incest, or if the pregnancy was deemed dangerous towards the mother's health. Despite this being in place, some doctors still worried about the narrow parameters and continued to refuse abortion requests. Cue the feminists demanding all abortion restrictions be lifted. Thank you. And on the opposing side, many of whom were linked to the Catholic Church, they commenced a state-by-state campaign. Because why not? They described themselves as defenders of a right to life, and they based this off of the U.S. Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. However, the opponents pointed out that the Constitution actually protected the right to choose. New fact to me, but in 1965, Connecticut tried to make it illegal for married couples to use birth control.
Yep.
What? What?
Because according to Catholicism and like other types of religions like that, your goal when you have sex is to procreate.
That's still insane.
Oh, I agree 100%. And I grew up Catholic, so
You're a good Catholic.
Isn't that like also the case of like some religions that like rape isn't a thing if you're married?
Yes, probably.
I'm sure. I know back in the day it was like that's how it was, but I don't know if that's like specific to one religion or if that was just like the world, you know?
Yeah, I feel like that was kind of just like an argument that was used in court by the rapist.
Probably.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't rape, she was my wife. Or vice versa. Anyways, in 1972, the court invalidated a Massachusetts law allowing married but not unmarried people to purchase contraceptives. So literally opposite ends of the spectrum here. It's just wild to me. Like,
which doesn't make
why?
sense to me because why would you not be able to have contraceptives if you're not married? Like, wouldn't be that be the point where you like back in the day when like two men and women had to be married and have kids, like,
Right?
would
Massachusetts is just crazy.
Yeah, which now they're great, but
good
when it comes to that stuff. But yeah,
good. I'm glad. I like Massachusetts. I love New England.
Yeah,
so
I've never
much.
been, but I want to go really bad.
So good. I love it. And now I'm going to talk about Roe versus Wade. Yes. And then I'm going to talk about before Roe versus Wade. It's a little reversal. A little role reversal. So, Roe versus Wade is known as the landmark case that legalized abortion across the United States. It all began when a 21-year-old named Norma McCorvey from Texas learned that she was pregnant for the third time. She wanted to terminate the pregnancy, and her friends told her to claim she was raped. However, Texas law didn't recognize rape or incest as a valid excuse for an abortion. There was, however, an illegal clinic, but it had unfortunately closed, so that was no longer an option at this point. In came 25-year-old Sarah Waddington and Linda Coffey. Both were attorneys, and Sarah herself had had an abortion years prior. These two women wanted a declaration stating Texas law was unconstitutional as it only allowed abortions if the mother was at risk. The Supreme Court agreed to hear the case once the Texas District Court agreed to the claim, and Roe versus Wade was basically all about having access to safe and legal abortion, and that it was constitutional and it was a woman's right.
Damn right.
A woman's right to choose abortion was also protected under her legal right to privacy. So, despite this being a women's rights case, the beliefs and rights of physicians was discussed much, much more.
Makes sense because that's where you can like get them. Because if doctors can't perform abortions, then what are you gonna do?
Yes, but it was basically, from my understanding, the doctors were complaining.
Oh.
And I'll get into it a little bit more.
Okay.
Because I was like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. And I got into it and I'm like, oh,
Wait a minute. That's not what I thought.
Yeah, you selfish bastards. The court indicated that it was the responsibility of the woman's family doctor if she was still in the first trimester. The court then formed the trimester framework, which stated that these regulations were ethically wrong in the first trimester. To this end, the government could only proceed with regulations if it was in the interest of the woman's health and once the viability of the fetus had been determined. The argument that the fetus was a person with rights was rejected by Roe, who reasoned that the term person in the Constitution only applied after birth. What do we think?
Read that again. Read that last bit again.
The government could only proceed with regulations if it was in the interest of the woman's health and once the viability of the fetus had been determined.
I don't get what that means.
So basically, it was to determine whether or not the fetus was even going to make it or not. So it was either based off of how the pregnancy affected the woman. If the woman was at risk, it was okay. I'm thinking is how I understood it. And then
So it wasn't
also,
okay if it was like a viable pregnancy.
or if it wasn't like a harm to the woman's health. Yeah.
Yeah, don't like that.
No.
Also, I just want to point, I was looking up that thing because I was so confused. I was like, how was there a ban on abortion during Roe versus Wade? And I found out about it. It was Alabama,
Okay.
and it was banned nearly all abortions, but unless a woman's life was threatened or if there's a lethal fetal anomaly. But under the law, the woman would not be held criminally liable, but the doctor could face a felony jail time of up to 99 years.
Jeez.
So that's how they got around it. Okay. Sorry, I was just like, I don't understand.
No, that's okay. I'm glad you looked that up because that's more information to share.
Yeah, I just didn't understand how that would have worked, but that makes sense. That's how they got around it. Loopholes.
Always the loopholes,
Yes.
and it had to be Alabama.
Of course.
I don't know much about Alabama other than what like the stereotypes.
The stereotypes, yeah.
Anyways, so yeah. So Roe struck down the majority of abortion restrictions in effect at the time of the decision, intensifying an abortion debate that had already reached its boiling point.
Yeah. Well, I feel like it's boiled over a few times now.
Yeah. So like I said, I'm kind of going backwards a little bit.
Okay.
But I wanted to talk about before Roe versus Wade.
Okay.
So the states didn't regulate abortion until fetal quickening, which is when movement is observed in the womb. Abortion, however, had become a booming business by the mid-19th century, and many women undergoing this procedure were married, white, and middle class. In 1857, the newly developed American Medical Association, or AMA, launched an eventually successful effort to make abortion illegal in all but life-threatening situations. The AMA wanted to modify abortion regulations for scientific, oh God. Is that the right word?
Scientific, yeah.
Okay, fabulous.
For scientific reasons? Is that what you're trying to say?
Scientific, moral, and practical reasons.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's right.
I don't think there's like anything else it could be unless you got like the words completely wrong.
No, I just like in my brain, it didn't sound like I said scientific.
Okay.
So, that reminds me, Ashik, I was listening to the podcast last week.
Yeah.
And during your victim statement, he said that there was a word that you said, and then you like corrected yourself, and he said that it was still wrong.
Oh no. That thing took me 40 minutes to record. So I didn't even like go back and edit it. I was like,
that's okay.
This is good where it's at, but
you just thought it was funny.
does he don't remember what word it was?
I'll ask him.
Okay.
Give me a second. I'll call.
I've got some hard words in this story today, like legit words that I had to Google because I didn't know what they meant.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
It's probably something easy like
Hello?
Hi, do you remember that word
Hello.
Ashley fucked up on her?
Oh, validated?
What did I say?
That's what she said.
What did
They
she
said-
say?
So validated.
Okay, instead of validated.
Oh no. It's funny too because when he said validated, I was like, that's not how you say it. It's validated. So I know.
So apparently you said validated twice.
Oh no. Ah well, it is what it is.
So funny. Anyways. Oh shit, we have a story. Okay, moving on. So many doctors believed that quickening was mostly irrelevant because a new human life would emerge after fertilization if no one interfered with its development. The AMA further argued that abortion was morally wrong and that it destroyed women's traditional responsibilities and hurt the genetic stock of the U.S., especially if poor people were having more children than the wealthy.
Gotta watch out for those poor people. They're coming for you. That was a joke, everybody. I did not mean that. I was being sarcastic.
No,
So everybody knows.
Physicians were also concerned. This is the thing that gets me. With the fact that patients would be stolen by their competitors who were more willing to perform the abortions.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh my God. This is a quote.
I bet it's a dumb one.
Accurate. By fighting to criminalize abortion, doctors could claim a moral edge over the competition, unquote.
Oh, man.
This, unfortunately, was a success. And by the time 1880 rolled around, every state had criminal abortion laws in place. And it still remained the exception for saving a woman's life. At least women are sort of thought of.
A little bit. It's kind of like a back thought. Like, oh, you know what? What if they die? I guess we'll make a rule about that.
Yeah.
What if they were like, okay, if I can't do this, then I will jump off a bridge. Is my life in danger enough now?
Probably
this? Like,
not
probably
technically,
not.
because it's not like
from the baby.
Yeah.
Or the fetus, excuse me.
Yeah. They don't care about your mental health.
Especially back then.
They probably just would have locked you up.
Yeah, that's probably
asylum.
probably would have
Yeah.
like, go ahead, I'll drive you to the nearest bridge.
Yeah. Despite it now being illegal, some physicians still performed abortions. Thank you. Prosecutors usually went after abortion providers, especially if a woman died as a result of the procedure. These prosecutors also sometimes summoned these women and forced them to testify in the inevitable criminal hearing against their doctor. These poor women were forced to answer very intimate questions in open court and were subjected to a barrage of questions from opposing counsel and were broadcast in local media.
Ooh.
Yeah. Even though it was unlikely to face prison time for having an abortion, the public humiliation was likely enough to stop others from doing the same thing.
Yeah, especially back then.
Yeah. So why now? Ash is going to get into it shortly, but basically there was backlash in regards to the healthcare reform, and a number of abortion restrictions were passed, such as banning abortion at 6 weeks or earlier, which I don't understand. So like you can't abort 6 weeks prior, but you can after. Like it doesn't.
No, they're saying that like at that 6 week or earlier mark, you are no longer allowed to have an abortion, like depending on what state. So like maybe one state was 6 weeks, one state is like 5 weeks, one state is like 2 weeks. But whatever that week is, that's the limit. You cannot have an abortion after that.
People like not even realize they're pregnant until after that. Yeah, imagine if you weren't like trying.
Yeah,
like do
you
you
didn't
even
know.
feel different? Like,
well, the first time I was pregnant, I didn't know I was pregnant until like 7-8 weeks.
Oh yeah, you were a bit
later.
Yeah,
I was like I found out after you found out, and you were behind me.
Yeah.
And I basically just thought that my symptoms were like my fertility drugs, because I was told that I wasn't ovulating based off of blood work. So I was like, there's no way I can be pregnant. And then people kept bugging me to take a test. And I took a test out of spite because my mom told me I was pregnant and she lives 6 hours away. And I'm like, I am not pregnant. That I was pregnant.
Well, and a lot of times it just feels like you're really tired, like really run down, like you're like about to get sick. You know that feeling like when you're about to get
Yeah.
I
sick.
feel that all the time.
Exactly,
Like,
right?
I
So like
never
you might not even know. You could be pregnant right now, Rochelle. You could be 6 months along.
No, got my period today. We're good.
Oh, we're almost synced.
Not anymore.
Anyways, ba-ba-da. I'm just gonna read that last part again, just in case we forgot what it was, because
Okay.
we chatted in between. I'm gonna keep the first part of, like, I'm gonna keep it in before, but just to kind of refresh.
Yeah.
So again, basically there was a backlash in regards to the healthcare reform, and a number of abortion restrictions were passed, such as banning abortion at 6 weeks or earlier. And it was also anticipated that Roe would be reversed in 1992, but that obviously didn't happen.
Yeah, there's another famous court case, Casey versus Planned Parenthood, that
Yes.
kind of solidified Roe versus Wade.
So that is the history of it. I know it was nice, short, and sweet, but I think it was very important to set up the foundation for what
Yeah.
Ashley is going to talk about.
Yeah, and mine's pretty awful. So
Oh.
my story starts out with a really sad story, and then I'm going to get into kind of what's going on now. But here's my list of resources. Urge.org, the Washington Post, The Guardian, WBUR, Boston's NPR news station, Vice, Personal PAC, Wikipedia, United States Courts, NPR itself, CNN Politics, NBC Chicago, Politico, Vanity Fair, ProPublica, and Healthline.
Holy crap, lady.
Yeah, I did a lot for this one. All right, so let's start off with the really sad story. So Geraldine, or as she was known, Gerri Santoro, was born on August 16th, 1935 in Coventry, Connecticut, to a Ukrainian American family. She was the youngest of 15 children. 15 children.
That's insane.
Who grew up.
I thought my mom's mom, so my grandma, sorry, that was a stupid way to say it. My grandma had 8 children, and I thought that was a lot.
All right. She's one of 15.
Holy crap.
And they grew up on a farm. Gerri was described as a sweet kid. She was fun-loving and free-spirited. Then he said she would often climb trees to get out of chores. And her best friend would sneak out of school and play hooky for the day a lot of times. And they also made a point to say that she always smelled like juicy fruit gum, which I thought was cute.
Aww.
Juicy fruit reminds me of my grandpa, my mom's dad, because he used to always chew juicy fruit.
Oh, I love juicy fruit, but it only holds its flavor for like 2.2 seconds.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
So after high school, Gerri got a job working in a plant. And one day at the bus stop, she met a man named Santoro. Apparently, she was trying to get married before her best friend. They were in like this little competition or whatever. And I mean, this is back in the 30s. So she decided to marry Sam after only knowing him for 4 weeks. Probably not the smartest idea, but she was young. She was only 18. She was in love. You know how it is when you're 18.
Oh, yeah.
But Sam was not a nice man. He was actually described as someone who loved no one. And sure enough, he began to abuse Gerri.
Aww.
She did end up having 2 daughters with him, and unfortunately, he abused the daughters as well.
Aww.
Gerri would show up to work with bruises, but back then, in the 40s, domestic violence wasn't taken seriously. They didn't really care.
Yeah.
So nothing was ever done. But when Gerri saw him repeatedly whipping the girls, she had enough, and she ran away back to her parents' farm with her daughters.
Oh, good.
So based on a law made in 1937, you could divorce your spouse, but you had to prove adultery, drunkenness, insanity, or desertion. And I can guarantee this wouldn't be easy for a woman to prove back then.
No, not at all, because there would always be an excuse as to why she couldn't have gone back and worked on something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, abuse wasn't one of those reasons. They didn't really care.
What bullshit.
So off Gerri went back to her family farm. And while there, she took a job at the Mansfield State Training School. And this training school was like a institution for, I think like physically and maybe mentally handicapped. I'm not 100% sure on that. But while there, she met a man named Clyde Dixon. So one site described him as a smooth talker. He was her supervisor, and people said that he seemed to really care for her. And that was something she had not gotten from her husband. So they started to have an affair. And during this affair, Gerri got pregnant.
Oh, no.
Which wouldn't have been that big of a deal until her husband said he was actually going to come visit Gerri on the farm, hoping to win her back.
Holy crap. No.
Yeah. So Gerri was terrified that if her husband found out that not only she'd been having an affair, but that she had become pregnant, that he would kill her. She knew she had to terminate the pregnancy, but at this time, abortion was still illegal. So Gerri had heard that, is it called ergot? It's a herb.
I don't know.
I think ergot, ERGOT.
I'd go with ergot or ergo.
Yeah, that it could induce a miscarriage. So she kind of started asking around if anybody had any. But her sister Liana was like, no, here's $725, which back then was a lot of money.
Yeah.
What is it?
Ergot.
Oh, not at all what we thought.
Nope. So her sister said to go and get an illegal abortion somewhere, go pay for this. And I'm not really sure why, but for some reason, her and Clyde decided not to go somewhere. And instead, they got a medical textbook and some medical instruments from a colleague at the institution that they worked at. And on June 8th, 1964, they went to a motel where Gerri checked in under the name Margaret Reynolds.
Yep.
Using a catheter, Clyde started to try to abort the fetus, but things went really, really bad. Gerri started to hemorrhage.
No.
And instead of helping her or calling to get help, Clyde fled, leaving Gerri alone.
What?
She was still aware of what was happening, like she hadn't passed out, and she actually called her sister Liana, who unfortunately didn't answer, and Gerri didn't leave a message. And shortly after that, Gerri passed away, naked, on the floor of a motel room, alone, and in a pool of her own blood.
Sweet babe.
The next morning, Gerri's body was found by the maid, who called the police, and a picture was taken of Gerri's body, and it became a symbol for the pro-choice movement. Gerri was 28 years old. So you can actually look the picture up. I really want to warn you, it's extremely graphic. It was kind of made into an illustration to be used for the pro-choice movement because that's a little bit more palatable, but the picture is out there if you want to see it.
What do you search for?
Gerri Santoro, and it should come up.
Aww. Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So that was 7 years before Roe v. Wade was enacted. So why, dear listeners, did we decide to do a whole episode on Roe v. Wade? What is going on? Well, unless you live under a rock or in another country and you don't happen to follow United States politics, because why would you? You're in another country. A leaked opinion of the Supreme Court has been released that completely overturns Roe v. Wade. First and foremost, this is unprecedented. Never before has a Supreme Court opinion been leaked. My theory is someone saw it and was like, this is bullshit, and leaked it to get the public outcry. But like, that's just my guess. But for those of you who don't know how the Supreme Court works, it goes like this. So after a case is heard, the judge, I meant to write justices and I wrote the juices. The juices have an initial vote. Then the senior juice in the majority will write what is called the opinion. And the majority is called the majority opinion. So if the justices in the minority feel like this should have a different conclusion, the senior most justice will assign a justice to write what is called the dissenting opinion. And apparently any judge can write their own dissenting opinion if they feel the need to do so. They can also write what's called a concurring opinion if they agree with the majority but disagree with the reason. So all of these are called draft opinions. Then the other judges will sign on to this opinion, meaning they agree with it. So in order to get people on board, the authoring justice must make sure to take other justices' opinions and thoughts into the written opinion. Once they have the majority of the justices sign on, they will deliver the opinion in court or to the public, which then makes it official. So let's talk about this bullshit opinion.
No.
Right? It's pretty bad. So it was written by Justice Samuel Alito, who became Juice Samuel Alito, who became a justice in 2006 under the Bush administration. And in 2013, Alito was considered one of the most conservative judges on the court. So cool. In November of 2020, he said that because of the restrictions. Oh, yeah. Here's a quote from him just to show you what type of guy he was.
Stupid quote. Okay.
In November 2020, he said that because of the restrictions from COVID-19, people lost their individual liberties, and we have never before seen restrictions as severe, extensive, and prolonged as those experienced for most of 2020, and called the pandemic a constitutional stress test.
Oh my God.
So this is the type of person we're dealing with.
What a dick nut.
Yeah, and it gets worse. So his 98-page draft opinion he wrote was that Roe v. Wade was egregiously wrong from the start, and that it is time to heed the Constitution and return the issue of abortion to the people's elected representatives. So his main argument is that there's nothing in the Constitution that references abortion, but some people argue that the 14th Amendment or the Due Process Clause could be used to uphold Roe v. Wade. But Alito said that while it might guarantee some rights that are not explicitly in the Constitution, those rights have to be deeply rooted in this nation's history and tradition. In fact, he said, the inescapable conclusion is that a right to abortion is not deeply rooted in the nation's history and traditions. On the contrary, an unbroken tradition of prohibiting abortion on the pain of criminal punishment persisted from the earliest days of the common law until 1973. And the 14th Amendment basically states that no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of the civilians of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws.
So the lawmakers don't pay attention to the laws.
Not this one.
Okay. Super.
In his opinion, he also referenced another justice, Clarence Thomas, using a now debunked theory that abortion is a tool of eugenics against Black Americans, which is not true. But he tried to use that as an excuse for why he should overturn Roe v. Wade.
You know what this sounds like to me? Amber Turd.
Ow.
Have you watched any of the
hashtag me too?
Yeah.
Just like the TikTok stuff, but not like.
Did you see the one of her? She's like, they're like in the midst of putting up like evidential like photos, and she like answers a question, like gives us a weird answer to a question that was never asked, and then like the opposing is like, no question has been asked yet.
Yeah, and then she'll be like, I didn't understand your question when they ask a question,
or she'll be like, yeah, that's correct, but like I don't recall when.
And she like constantly looks at the jury when she's about to answer, so she'll look at them and be like, that is correct. Not that I recall. Like,
that's weird.
She's so weird.
That's really weird.
The whole thing is like, one, that's like, why
Yeah.
the fact that like that's taking like the media spotlight over like things that are like a big
know.
problem. But then there's like the whole
It's so entertaining.
Yeah.
but then there's like the whole thing of like nothing that she's put forward as like evidence
Yeah.
has
Well,
any
and it's-
hold.
Apparently
Also,
her
she's been
lawyer's
caught
not
like
good
lying on
either.
the stand. So
Yeah. And her lawyer's not very good either.
Yeah, I haven't heard good things about her lawyers.
I guess her lawyer is like not like a trial lawyer usually, so she usually settles cases
geez.
before it gets that far. So
Oh
she's just
gosh.
not
So
like
she has no
used to that,
experience.
yeah.
Oh, lovely. Oh my god, yeah, it just reminds me of her just like constantly lying and like giving gibberish and
Yeah.
just like so dumb. Somebody mentioned today that she dressed up as
That my
as,
Austin
Mr.
Powers,
Evil.
yeah, like,
Mr.
Oh
Evil.
yeah.
'Cause she had like this gray tunic on that goes up to her freaking neck, like her chin. And it was just, oh my god, it was funny.
I did see that, yeah. I did.
there's like a thing that's like going around. It's like her like being like, my dog stepped on a bee, and then
Oh, I
everyone's
love
like,
that one.
my
So
mom's
hard.
stuck in a tree.
Yeah.
I dropped something on my knee.
I just don't understand the face
Her
twitch
face.
after.
What was that?
Well, and I've seen some other interviews like going through TikTok of her, and she's just like speaking gibberish. She's doing weird facial tics. Like, I don't know what's going on with that girl.
Also, she like tries to cry, but like doesn't.
Oh my god, that was funny. Did you see that? Where she was like going like with her like napping.
Or was she like,
wasn't even
everybody thinks she
crying.
like fucking snorted coke on the stand?
Yeah, I think she just like plugged one nostril and like blew. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's what I think she did. But
Yeah.
Yeah, but then she
Yeah.
like wiped her nose with her hand right after.
It was so
Yeah.
funny. And she like she always
gross.
needs to look and make sure somebody's watching her before she puts on a show.
And she'll also like pause like for like 10 seconds, like
Yeah.
bad for the camera.
So weird. Like,
Also, people say that like the Snapchat filter or whatever that's going around,
yeah.
the crying face is like supposed to be based on her.
Oh no.
That's so funny.
Okay, so it gets worse.
Super.
In his opinion, he also referenced Sir Matthew Hale 7 separate times. He said,
Is that what he said?
he did say that. He said that 2 treaties, but I don't know how to say this word, and I thought I did, and now I'm looking at it, and I'm like, that's probably not how you say that. So give me one moment.
What word?
Treatise. Okay. He said 2 treatise by Sir Matthew Hale described abortion of a quick child who died in the womb as a great crime and a great misprision. And now we know that quick child from Jessica means that the child is moving. I didn't get that earlier.
I literally said that it was.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. When I wrote this, I didn't know what that meant, but now that you said it, I know what that means.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, I literally explained.
I know, that's what I was saying. Now I know. And he writes in there, C.M. Hale, pleas of the crown. So if you read further in this pleas of the crown, it also says that the husband cannot be guilty of a rape committed by himself upon his lawful wife, for by their mutual matrimonial consent and contract, the wife hath given herself up in this kind unto her husband, which she cannot retract. So this Sir Matthew Hale, who Alito refers to 7 times, was a 17th century jurist who defended marital rape and had 2 women executed for witchcraft. Yeah. As quoted by ProPublica, a judge who was considered misogynistic even by his era's notably low standard. Apparently, he once wrote a letter to his grandsons and ended up just like bashing women the whole time, saying that they were, quote, chargeable, unprofitable people who know the ready way to consume an estate and to ruin a family quickly, and said that, and now the world is altered. Young gentlewomen learn to be bold and talk loud.
I think he has some mommy issues, and I feel bad for his wife.
Yeah. So this is what the leaked opinion said. Now, this leaked opinion could change by the time that they make it public. Especially seeing all this criticism, some of the other justices can be like, okay, we need to like fix this. But for the most part, it is most likely going to get passed to overturn it, because there are more conservative justices than there are liberal justices right now. So what happens if Roe v. Wade is overturned? So as of 2017, 1 in 4 women in the US will get an abortion at some point in their lives. This will obviously change if Roe v. Wade is overturned. The abortion laws will turn over to the states. So instead of it being federally protected, each state will get to decide their own laws. There are currently 18 states which have what is called a trigger law, which basically means that as soon as it's overturned, these laws go into effect. And all of these laws ban abortion in some measure. There are also some laws that are on the books from like years and years ago, like the 30s, the 40s, that are just no longer practiced because of Roe v. Wade. But if that's overturned, they could come back into play. Some of the other laws that conservatives are trying to pass is that Ron DeSantis of Florida, his name's actually Ron DeSantis, but I made it Ron DeSantis.
I was gonna say a cool name.
He's an ass.
Oh, sorry.
He just signed in a law that will ban most abortions after 15 weeks without exceptions for incest, rape, or human trafficking.
Oh yeah, you're a douchebag.
It will only allow abortion if the mom would die or be seriously injured if the baby was carried to term.
What about the baby? If the baby's going to be injured?
But being psychologically injured if the baby
right
to term.
I saw an interview with one lady, and she said she was like, well, that baby still should have a chance no matter who their father is. And, the trauma's already there. She's already been raped. The trauma's already going to happen, and getting rid of that baby isn't going to get rid of that trauma. I was like,
oh my God. That's not.
That's going to add more. It's just going to add more.
Well, and the thing is that if you're going to force these women to have these unwanted children,
there better be somebody willing to fucking take care of it in the other end.
Or take care of the mother. Like, there needs to be something put in place. Like, that's bullshit.
Yeah. And the thing that's the most frustrating is these pro birth, basically, people out there, especially on the conservative side. So the Republicans, they voted down more welfare. They voted down universal health care. They voted down maternity leave. So they don't want to help. They just want these kids to be born, and then what?
Oh my God.
So Oklahoma will also make abortion a felony, and cannot be performed after 6 weeks unless to save the life of the woman. In Oklahoma, a felony can be punishable by 10 years in prison and $100,000 fine. 10 years in prison. And also in America, if you get a felony, you are no longer allowed to vote. In Louisiana, lawmakers have revised a bill that will change the legal definition of a person to a fertilized egg, which is the scariest one of all, because this brings into play ectopic pregnancies, which is a fertilized egg in the fallopian tube, and is the leading cause of maternal death in the first trimester. Those fertilized eggs are not viable. They will not live. They will not become a baby. They will just kill the mother, is what happens. And some old people who make laws and have no idea about medical procedures don't understand why there should be any provisions for this. Why does it matter where the egg is fertilized? They also propose that maybe doctors can just like move the egg from the fallopian tubes to the uterus, and even tried to include that in a provision in the law. This procedure is not a thing. It's not real. That's imaginary. They still live in the time of
Jesus and not science. So
yeah. Because of this, they then could come after types of birth control and IVF, which, if you know anything about IVF, they fertilize the egg and they implant some of them, and then they dispose of fertilized eggs that are not implanted. So that would no longer be viable, as well as some types of birth control, such as, IUDs and stuff like that, would no longer be allowed.
What? IUDs are dope.
Right? So, everyone, welcome to 1940s America. This is exactly why we need to remember stories like Gerri's. Outlawing abortion will not stop abortions. It will only stop legal abortions, and tons of women will die.
Yeah.
That's my story. But I think that since this was such a serious, deep episode, maybe we should just end and not do jokes. What do you guys think?
Okay.
Or did you want to do jokes?
I don't know. I feel like we should do a joke.
I also have my alien story.
Oh yeah, Jess has an alien story that I want to hear about.
Okay, let's do it.
It wasn't actually, and honestly, I only want to tell it and tell a joke because I feel like because it was such a heavy episode that we need a good laugh.
Okay.
And this gave me a heart attack. So Rochelle's alien stories have been freaking me out. Okay.
Yes.
So I was driving home.
At this
after
point,
work
it feels
today.
much more comforting to be abducted by aliens than it is to flee to the
No, my heart still like jumped into my throat. So
States.
I was driving home and I live in the country. And so obviously there's like shoddy service every so often. And I was talking to my cousin on the way home and we kept losing each other. And then at one point it went like, that like crackly, like, and then it just like, it terrified me because I like felt like something was gonna happen because that doesn't happen very often. And I'm like, oh no, here
I'm
they
getting
come.
abducted.
And the scariest part that like I hung up the phone, so I clicked end and it wouldn't go off, and then all of a sudden it went like and then it like hung up. It was so creepy. Freaked me the hell out. Anyways, I thought I was being abducted today. Thankfully,
Maybe
I
you
wasn't.
were. Maybe you were. A lot of like stories like you don't remember. All of a sudden, like time is
Oh.
Ew,
a
don't
little
say that.
weird.
I'm also like I had a nightmare when I was a kid, and I'm terrified of that like robot lady voice that's like, how it beeps and it's like the number you have called is unavailable.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I had a dream that lady's voice got like really demonic and distorted, and I am still scared of it as an adult. And I make a lot of phone calls for work, and I get that sound sometimes, and it's just like, oh no.
You're like, oh no.
Yeah, no, thank you. Anyways, I thought you guys would enjoy my alien story because it
So I
Loved
also
it.
had that like Hat Man update. Kind of.
Oh
yeah.
So and I remember, Jess, if this was, were you around for this, or was this when you took your break that I did that story?
I was around for it.
For you. Okay. So the Hat Man, if y'all remember, there's a story I did a while ago about like people seeing this dark man in a hat. Anyways, one of our newer guys posted in our like group chat. He's like, oh yeah, this is a photo of the monster that my kid's been seeing lately. And I'll see if I can scroll back enough. And then I was like, don't want to freak you out, but I think your kid's seeing the Hat Man.
Ew.
Oh god.
So that's
Then doesn't
one
it usually like
picture.
signify death?
Ew.
Oh.
It's like Slender Man, Hat Man.
And then this is the second one, and it's the kid being like, no, don't take me. And then the Hat Man.
Oh my
if
god.
my kid drew something like that, I would yeet
I
it.
was just
Anyways,
gonna say,
and
I'd
then
yeet
he
the whole
said, oh
kid.
yeah, also the kid says that this thing has no face and always stands in the doorway, which is like literally spot on to that story. And I was like, yeah, like I don't usually like throw shit out there like this, but like you might want to listen to the podcast episode that I did about it. And he was like, oh. And then
I don't
somebody
think I'd want
else
to.
typed in and was like, I saw the Hat Man when I was younger too.
Ew.
Oh god.
So yeah, Hat Man's alive and well.
Oh, I hate that.
So on that creepy note,
Does anybody have a joke?
no.
I feel like I heard a funny joke that I meant to write down and I can't remember what it is.
I can do my temperature a cat likes again.
Pew, pew.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
Ooh, here's a appropriate one. What kind of tea is hard to swallow?
Truth.
Reality.
Yep. Reality.
Oh, I get it. Wow.
I told my wife she was drawing her eyebrows too high. She looked surprised.
Oh no.
Oh, at least you told her.
Today at the bank, an old lady asked me to help check her balance, so I pushed her
Over. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Ha ha
Same.
ha.
All righty.
Well, if you want more of us lovely ladies, you can find us at historiesandmysteries.ca. We are also on Instagram and Facebook.
And if you'd like to rate and review us, we would really love you. We appreciate everybody that's done so far. You've really helped us get out there, and we appreciate it.
And if you think Jessica got abducted, tell us your thoughts.
I love it. Well, we look forward to bringing you 2 new stories next week.
Bye.